California MBA DE&I Podcast. I'm Dr. Stacey Wayman, Manager of Client Digital Experience at National Mortgage Insurance and your podcast host. Thank you for joining us today. At National MI, we're dedicated to making a positive impact in the communities where we live and work. We bring innovative mortgage insurance solutions to the market, helping more people to have access to sustainable homeownership and to preserve their American dream. Big thank you to our sponsor, PCV Mercor, one of the nation's leading valuation management companies for residential and commercial valuations. We appreciate your continued support and sponsorship. With me today are the lovely Amy Creason, Patricia Peters, and Leslie Winnick. These rock stars are co-founders and board members of CapitalW Collective. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Stacey. Thank
you.
Thank you.
I am super excited to have you guys here. Just the more and more that I've been able to speak with Leslie and then interact with you all either via email or LinkedIn and then learn more and more about CapitalW. I am super excited to bring this information to our audience and help them know more about CapitalW Collective. But I think we need to start with how CapitalW Collective was even born. How did you guys do this?
Well, first, let us start with thank you. Thank you, CMBA, for having us be part of this forum. Thank you, Stacey, for always hosting these important dialogues with people across our industry to bring some light on an important topic. So keep doing what you're doing. You're the rock star. Well, how do we start? Where was this birthed? I think you could say, like a lot of things in the mortgage industry, it started after hours at a conference. Although, are those smart choices sometimes a mortgage? We don't know, but this was the smart choice. It was a lot of observational and experiential learning and being around the industry for a while and visually surveying what we saw on the podium, giving presentations, or in the room next to us, or standing at the cocktail table after hours. It was clear that there was a paucity of representation that accurately depicted the industries and the communities in which we work and play. And we also live in a world of mortgage capital markets, which happens to be very STEM heavy and science rich. And so the pool or the population of participants who typically played in this space was even more limited. So that's the formal way of saying we needed to make change or making change. So CapitalW is about educating, elevating, and empowering women and their allies to represent and to feel good about themselves so that they can give more of themselves and give back to the industry that we all love. That's the high level bit of it, but we want to create more seats at the table. We want people to be smarter, more excited about their jobs. We want to bring people into this industry when they're young and they don't get to say we fell into mortgage. They actually chose mortgage. We have a lot of goals and desires, and we just launched on May 1. So we're new, but thanks to you and others in our industry, we've been able to get the word out pretty quickly, and we've got a lot of fire in our bellies to keep moving and to keep pushing the boundaries.
That's awesome. It seems like some of the best ideas came on the back of a cocktail napkin. So
Yes.
I love that this is that, it's that. Let's get our elbows onto the table and lean in and have a real conversation about what's happening, especially for women in our industry and especially where capital markets are concerned. I love that this has evolved over time, but it came from that organic experience that all of you have in our industry.
That's right. And Amy had the cocktail napkin. It literally in her hand as she ran at me. I don't know if you want to build on that, Amy, but you literally came with a cocktail napkin.
Well, I did, and a lot of great successes in our careers or the creation of products or whatever it is come from just having the right people be in the right space. So whether you see their aura and you're like, yeah, that's the person, or you have conversations with them, you are in a group and you find yourself drawn to someone. That might all sound a little cheesy, but what I recognized in Leslie, as well as in Pat, we had been at conferences together and having conversations, was looks like some folks that are like-minded. And we laugh about, oh yeah, not very many women here at this conference, are there? They're back at the shop, actually running the store, so to speak. But if not us, then who? How can we make a difference if we don't do something? So you got three gals here who created a nonprofit without ever having created a nonprofit before. You had three gals here who were resourceful and found folks willing to help us and be partners pro bono in-kind donations as well as monetary donations. So we've taken our business acumen and applied it like we do with all of our problem solving to something that really doesn't have a playbook. So yeah, we are making up some of the stuff as we go along, but it's well informed from what women are telling us, what allies are telling us, people asking for help, asking for education, asking for networks. So we feel like we're finding our people as we go along here as well.
It's outstanding. And Leslie, you brought up that that this is a part of the industry. It's very STEM heavy. I don't know that I'd ever concretize that in my head, that capital markets and STEM are really sort of integrated and married. And what a brilliant way. In my own community, there's a STEM high school, and they do that for the purpose because there are a lot of defense contractors here, right? So they're trying to get those kids to look for careers that will keep them in the community and continue to contribute to the community. But when you think about capital markets as a community and where you can source those future leaders in the industry, what a brilliant way to kind of tie that together. How do you see that having an effect on how you introduce capital markets to more people? So to your point, they don't feel like they fell into this industry. They literally chose to come into this industry and into such a rich part of it.
Yeah, well, actually, and I'm going to turn to Amy on this one because she's been chatting with UVA specifically. But Amy, why don't you talk about a little bit of what we're talking about earlier today?
Yeah, so I think, Stacey, you're asking questions about barriers to entry. What are they for women? Why do we see this underrepresentation? STEM is a critical part of it. You're absolutely right. And so we kind of probably see three general barriers. And first and foremost is that education piece. So if we look at the statistics on women in STEM related subjects, while it differs from different organizations, but let's focus on mathematics and engineering, finance, business, and so forth, economics. There are disproportionately smaller numbers of women in those core classes, and then that bleeds then right through to their first careers. So a smaller audience from which to encourage move into mortgage capital markets. But I think also at the beginning of folks' careers, mortgage capital markets is not really very well known. So the awareness component of it, so coupled with the education, that's a limitation. And so at Capital W, we're focused very much on that education piece. We've got, three tenets: educate, elevate, empower. So focusing first on that education, it is both content as well as awareness. Here's a path forward. We do think that people in different stages of their careers should have availability to information, but it's hard if you're, let's say, a mid-career person who has been interested in capital markets. How does my position, my role, impact capital markets? But finding someone to go sit on the desk and talk to, maybe you're not really have that availability or that access, or you don't know what you don't know and you want to learn more. So that's one critical piece of Capital W to hopefully remediate that area, that first barrier. The second barrier is networks. So in a male-dominated area of our industry, especially mortgage capital markets, your networks tend to be people that you know, right? And so that's mathematically more men. So expanding those networks, especially for women, to have the inclusion and the recognition within those networks, that's another piece for us that we're focused on. And then finally, I think we need to talk about this, the social biases against women, and especially in financial services.
Mhm.
There's plenty of studies. A couple that I really like are McKinsey's Women in the Workplace study.
It's a
So,
great report.
yep. So in their 2003 article, it was, yes, the broken rung exists. So rather than glass ceiling, let's focus on the broken rung. And for those who aren't familiar, we're talking about as you are an entry level moving to manager. So disproportionately, I think in 2022, they cited that for every 100 men that were promoted from entry level to manager, only 87 women were promoted. So pull that into a very, finite area of mortgage capital markets, and you can extrapolate from there. Deloitte's 2003 Women at Work study, their focus was more about, hey, do you want to have a role in leadership? And 25% of the women said no, and it's because of culture.
Right.
So I think they noted also that 25% of women were still encountering non-inclusive behaviors at work, and I'm sorry, nearly half of the women were encountering those behaviors. 25% of women have experienced inappropriate comments or actions from senior people. So, we feel like it's a safer place with HR protections and so forth, but those biases are really, I would say difficult to overcome and change. And then the last thing I'll cite really quickly is, why not try to have greater gender parity for all kinds of different reasons, but not the least of which is, as cited with Morgan Stanley's 2023 research article, gender diversity keeps paying dividends. I want to make sure I got that title straight so people can look it up. But long story made short, those institutions, those companies with greater parity are about 1.6% better performers, financial performers. And I know, Stacey, you've done some research on this topic. So we feel like we need this group to be focused on capital markets in the face of not only education disparity, but existing social biases and limited networks, but also to simply bring recognition to where there is a need in our industry, our aging industry, by the way. Right?
Yeah, right. I think that I might actually be the average age now, and I remember being in the industry going, that's the average age? That seems really old.
Yeah.
But yes, we do have an aging industry, and we have a generation of people who are really committed to making change happen in the world, including things like gender parity and inclusiveness, and embracing the intersectionality of people, because we all come from different aspects, different experiences, and different components of who we are. So this is a really ripe time, I think, for you guys to do what it is that you're setting out to do, and building this model that other components of the financial services industry could latch onto. Because once they see the success, and I know there's going to be success, once they see that success, it's very easy to start to take that model and then replicate it and do the same thing. But what goals do you have for CapitalW Collective?
Around us, I'm actually taking a class with Cornell University, and the Berkeley Haas study came out and highlighted not only what Amy talked about, but even dove in further to women and childcare and what happened to them during COVID. Black women spent 4 to 12 hours more taking care of elderly and children compared to other women. Latinas, and women and men of color have limited access. And with AI, recognizing that AI uses data to build code, and traditional platforms we use a language to build code. So with that in mind, we really need to take a step back and look at the data and make sure it doesn't have these historical bias. And if it does, create synthetic data along with what we'll call clean historical data, so that the AI system can actually perpetuate the opportunities that we see in Capital W for women and allies in the capital markets industry.
That's a really interesting tidbit to consider, that as AI is becoming more prevalent, those inherent biases are already into that system. And how do we ensure that this great new tool doesn't just perpetuate the challenges that women have had specifically in capital markets, but you think about how that applies across the whole entire industry. And I don't know that many folks would necessarily considered. I'm sure I've read articles and research about
Right.
this. I don't know that some of the folks who are so excited about using AI have thought about some of those consequences that also come from that.
Yeah, and
Like-
there's an AI safety group that's been put out where they really, the idea is all of us as companies now need to start hiring people of all colors, all thought processes. We need to hire philosophers. We need to hire social economics, society, those that study communities and add them to our engineering teams so that we have that balanced look when we put the AI product out into the industry, so that people are not negatively harmed. I mean, we can all recall the 2018 where Amazon created a really cool AI tool for recruiting and found out that, oh my goodness, it's only hiring men.
You're
So
actually discriminating.
yeah, exactly. And they didn't even realize the bias was there, right? So to your point, having knowledge that historical data does have bias, it is unjust to many people groups, and we need to be thoughtful and intentional about safety and soundness of the products we create. And for Capital W, we want to help do that, right? So how do we engage women in STEM? How do we can take communications, marketing, social sciences. We can take all of those practices and bring them into the AI community to create better tools rather than limiting it to technology, economy, finance. We now need a bigger group, a more diverse group to create products for the future.
Yeah, for me, it's always been this thought that our organizations should reflect the communities that we serve. And that means that there's diversity there, diversity in thought, diversity in experience. So I love that you all are taking the mission of Capital W Collective and making it part of your mission to broaden that understanding of diversity. This is not, for anybody that was thinking it's not a feminist thing. This is, we're creating opportunity around for the whole entire industry, because the research shows that organizations with diverse talent pools are more successful than their competitors. They're more profitable. So that should make shareholders and investors super happy, if you weren't thinking of that. And you have more engaged team members who are motivated to stay and loyal to stay to that organization. It just makes a difference in the experience all the way around. And happy workers, I mean, I don't know about you, but after work, if I have to run to the store and there's somebody who is not really happy with their workday, I try to steer clear. I would just like to, let's have some happy people.
Well, and to pick up on that diversity thread there, Stacey, so yes, of people, and especially as technology is becoming increasingly important, and in capital markets, absolutely, it's a data-driven, segment of the industry, but it's also impacting people when diverse roles all around capital markets. So when we say capital markets, we mean it can be all the way up to the loan originator who understands pricing and why a concession maybe doesn't really help the company, through the back end of servicing and the mortgage servicing rights transfers, compliance, legal, you name it. So diversity also of participants, and perhaps you're just capital markets curious, if we can say it that way, that you're just, maybe something helps me be a better employee. Maybe you're a manager who says, I really would like my folks to know a little bit more, but I don't know how to do that. Those are some of our goals as well. And including, Leslie, how about let's maybe talk about our network and our trying to get more folks on panels.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's really important. So we've got lots of tentacles out there for the people at home watching and that's like, what aren't you doing? But we are really focused. When we say educate, you heard threads of like, oh, we're considering new technologies, we're considering the whole life cycle of a loan, even through securitization. Having access to white papers and roundtables and webinars, and Capital W is going to act as an aggregator for content. So rather than you go out on the internet and say, where do I find this information? We're going to be able to serve up some useful information for you. We're partnering with the MBA and some exciting news is coming out about that in a couple days. Teaser. That's the educate. Then on the elevate part, Amy, what you're talking about is a speakers bureau. We said earlier, this idea of Capital W came at a conference when we saw the people on the podium and, at a recent conference where you and I met, Amy, it was a disproportionate amount of female to male on a lot of the panels. And that's no surprise. And we're not pointing a finger at anyone. We're trying to get to the root cause. And one of the root causes is that the organizers just don't know all the people in the industry that they could put on the panel. I mean, it's hard, right? Like you've got to source the panel, you've got a day job, you need to prepare the questions, you need to do all the work. Let's take that pain point out. Capital W is going to have a speakers bureau that is vetted, that has people with deep rosters and knowledge from which companies can pull, right? To be able to say, oh, I want Stacey on that panel. I want Amy on that panel. Pat is perfect for this role, right? Leslie may, but just kidding, of course. But a broad cross section that also again represents the universe of capital markets, right? Pricing, locking, all the way to securitizing. So taking that pain point out, and we are going to meticulously go through the Capital W hopes that we work ourselves out of an organization, right? That's the best outcome. We don't want to be here forever. But as our longevity grows, we're going to continue to rethink what our goals are, continue to rethink what pain points are. It's just like any corporation, strategy never ends, tactics never end. So we're going to pivot to what the need is at that time, keeping our direction and our moral compass straight, right? We're here for women and their allies to make a more profitable, to your point, we're in mortgage capital markets, right? Pretty sure capital's in there. We're here to make a profit, but we're a nonprofit that's going to help the industry run a little bit smoother. Happy workers, Stacey. That's what we're going for. We're going to like bring your best self up here is going to come out on your keyboard. It's going to come out of your mouth, and hopefully it's going to hit the back end of the business's finances.
Those sound like fantastic opportunities, but I have a question. How do organizations or individuals get involved with Capital W Collective?
Yeah, that's
You're welcome to look us up on LinkedIn, Capital W, all one word, space collective. We're also available on .org on the website, in the internet. And you can contact any of us on LinkedIn. We'd be more than happy to reach out and have a conversation. We welcome corporate sponsors. We are super excited. We do have some prospects in place and hopefully some great news to share soon on that topic, as well as individual contributors, recognizing that every person can help. Time, treasures. We will take your gifts and help you share your gifts with the community.
Awesome. Well, fantastic. So I don't even know if I have the words to say thank you big enough for all of you being here today and sharing the vision, the mission, the dream, the aspirations, the excitement of Capital W Collective. I think this has just been fantastic. And I thank all three of you, Amy, Patricia, and Leslie, for being here today and sharing your passion around helping women in capital markets.
Oh, thanks so much, Stacey. And also to build on Pat's answer, we're going to be at the National MBA conference in Denver. So we'll be posting things on LinkedIn about that, and you can come find us. I personally will be at the California MBA Empower event in Newport Beach, Balboa in September. So there's lots of ways to meet us virtually or in person. And we really, truly do look forward to your outreach and us starting to build this together.
Awesome. Well,
Bring your cocktail napkins.
yes. Let's pen some ideas. Cocktail napkins and a pen. That's all you need. That's all you
That's
need.
right. That's right.
And for anyone in our audience, if I can help you with any of those introductions, let me know. I will help you track these ladies down so that you can pick their brains and really understand what it is that they're working toward and become a part of a big movement. You won't regret it. All right. Well, a big thank you to our sponsor, PCV Mercor. We thank you so much for your continued support, your sponsorship. We really couldn't do what we do without you. So thank you for all that you do to support this podcast and these conversations. And again, thank you, ladies, for being here today. We look forward to seeing all of you at another podcast very soon. Take good care.